All right, folks, we are back. Sam Seder on the Majority Report on the phone. Pleasure to welcome to the program the director of Supersize Me, Where in the World is Osama bin Laden, various other television programs, and, of course, his latest Palm Wonderful presents The Greatest Movie Ever Sold. Thanks for joining us, Morgan.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So let's talk about the genesis of the film. I saw it a couple of weeks ago, and it's a great, I guess, window into some of the most horrid aspects of filmmaking in some respects.
Yeah, I think that what the film does a great job of doing is kind of pulling the curtain back, showing you kind of what goes on in this business. You know, showing you the influence and manipulation that companies actually start to have over film and television, and really gives you insight into a world that I don't think anybody's ever gotten to see.
Now, what inspired you to do this? I mean, you mentioned in the film that you saw a lot of your friends in the business with these huge, I guess, multi-platform blockbusters.
Yeah.
Was it? How much of it was really actually your personal and sort of your emotional desire to have a blockbuster like that, or?
I thought it was, we thought it was a good idea, and to make a film that kind of explores the world of advertising, marketing, and product placement, and get the whole film paid for by those companies. I was like, there's a good idea there. It's a good idea to dive in. And for me, it also stemmed from just kind of the pervasiveness of how much like marketing and advertising is in our daily lives. Like, you can't leave the house today without feeling like there's somebody trying to sell you something. From when I get on a bus, or I get on the subway, or I get in a cab, even when I go to the bathroom. I used to have a little me time when I went to the bathroom.
I understand.
It used to be a little quiet time, and now it's not.
And so, so as you went through this process, and it's obvious, it's apparent from the clip we just played before you came on that the film is actually about you making the film, or really, I guess, more accurately, financing the film.
Yeah.
And it looked for a while like you weren't going to get anybody to bite. But the fascinating thing is, if there's a buck to be made, it really doesn't. You can find a brand that will find a hook.
You'll find someone, and I think that's what the film, one of the heart ideas of the film, one of the core values of the film is that everything is for sale. That literally anything, you could buy almost anything these days. Just a couple weeks ago, right before the film opened, or it was kind of making its way out across the country now, I flew to Altoona, Pennsylvania, went there. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I gave the mayor a big giant check for $25,000, and for the next 60 days, the town of Altoona has officially changed its name to Palm Wonderful Presents The Greatest Movie Ever Sold, Pennsylvania. And so, I think it just gets sad, but it continues this question of, well, where do we stop? Where does it end? We have stadiums, we have buildings. Now advertising is making its way into schools, and they're starting to sell off the naming rights to gymnasiums and classrooms and things inside school districts. Where does it end?
Yeah, today there was a story about how Scholastic's in-school marketing division is now presenting the United States of Energy, which is sponsored by the coal industry, the American Coal Foundation.
Amazing.
And they're teaching this to kids. So the great thing about your movie is that it's an insight into movie making. Product placement's been there for a long time.
That's right.
But it provides a great insight into the minds of people who are willing to sponsor, to just basically get their name out there.
And one of the things that I love about the film is it also shows the influence that, once you start getting in bed with a brand or with a corporation, it's not a 30% chance or a 50% chance. It's a 100% chance they will influence the content in some way. Right. And I think that you see that play out in real time in this movie, and it's incredible to see.
Yeah, it's fascinating because product placement obviously has been around for a long time, but what I think we have moved into a different realm with the cross promotion, where our entire culture seems to be inundated by this stuff. You were selling Palm. I guess I got to say this: Palm Wonderful presents The Greatest Movie Ever Sold. Cups. Right?
It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? It just rolls right off. It's so easy.
Well, at one point, in these conversations that you had, for instance, like with Palm, did they ever say, like, man, this could be a really awkward,
bad idea.
shitty movie. Like, you're just gonna say Palm Wonderful Presents. Is that gonna? Did they have any sort of sensitivity to the actual product other than its potential reach?
Yeah, I mean, I think they had sensitivity, with regards to how they were going to be portrayed. And, I mean, everybody pushed back on the film. When we first started getting contracts, every contract basically said from the brand, we want 100% control of the movie. Absolutely not. Well, we want final approval of the film. Absolutely not. We want final approval of how our product's going to be seen in every frame that we're in. Absolutely not. And we continued to push back, but, the brands wanted to have a tremendous amount of control. And that's why so many companies said no, is, at the end of the day, we weren't going to let them have that control.
Right, but I guess what I'm asking is less about their wanting control relative to how their brand is presented, and if anybody ever raised the question of like, hey, are people gonna want? I mean, did people ask you like, what's the arc? What's the emotional journey that you're taking people on?
And that's what people would say. There was a great interview, which you see in the trailer. If people go to thegreatestmovieeversold.com, they can see the trailer for the film where one of the sponsors that we go to, one of the brands that actually came on, said, "Is there a plot?" He's like, "What's the movie about?" And I'm like, "Well, this is the movie right now. This is it. Me pitching you the film, and all this whole process is part of the movie." And and I think that's one of the things I love about the film and what makes the film work is that it literally is a film within a film, a story within a story. As you start to see this whole thing kind of come to fruition, the things that we critique in the beginning of the movie in the worlds of advertising and marketing are the exact same things that we implement at the end of the film to advertise and market our movie. And you see that all start to come to fruition. And it's fascinating.
Yeah, and so what was the reaction of these folks? What are their reactions now? I mean, Palm Wonderful didn't they have some sort of like financial benchmarks what their money was contingent upon?
Yeah, well, they there was money that was still owed to us. Like they still owe us $400,000. They gave they bought above the titles. Yeah, they
when
bought
someone
they
owes you $400,000.
Yeah, they owe us $400,000. They gave us $600. And so to get the extra $400,000, we have to achieve a certain amount of media impressions, 600 million media impressions. We have to show on over 250 screens worldwide. We have to have 500,000 downloads and DVDs, and it has to generate $10 million worldwide at the box office.
So this is the time where you're really, I guess. I mean, have you reached that?
Well, we've reached the number of media impressions. At this point, just to give you an idea of how much, I thought we would be impossible to hit 600 million media impressions. I thought it would be so hard. And just out of the Sundance Film Festival in January, when we got our first report from Burrell's, which is a company that measures media, kind of media mentions and media placement, February 1st, we got the report out of Sundance. We'd already had 900 million media impressions.
Wow.
And that was that was before the film was even released. So the thing that we didn't do, as you look back, hindsight being 20/20, and if anybody ever, as they ask me for advice as they're getting in bed with brands, like what do I do? And I tell them all, I say negotiate for success, which we didn't do. Like we didn't negotiate a bonus structure. We didn't negotiate, well, if we hit these benchmarks or go beyond certain benchmarks, we are guaranteed this much more money of X, which was a mistake.
So, and are you now? I mean, I imagine now is, to get that extra, to get that $400,000, that I imagine
A lot of work.
Yeah, now is sort of like this is almost more even. You're still got to go out and pimp yourself in a really aggressive way.
That's right. I'm still out. I'm still out banging the P.T. Barnum drum.
Right. I mean, so much so you will actually come on the Majority Report as in some way to get another media.
Well, that's because it is listened to by the majority. That's right,
of course.
I'm not going on the Minority Report.
No, well, but that may be next up. At this point. Well, so hey, let me ask you this. Because your work is really interesting to me in the sense that it is not overtly, or I should say, partisan political. For the most part, I think you clearly have an ideology. How would you? What would you express? What that ideology would be that seems to sort of permeate your films?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for me is, the way that I try to make movies is, I'm somebody who doesn't like to be told what to do. I don't like to be told what to think. And I try not to let my movies have that same effect. I want people to formulate your own opinion over the course of watching the film or the TV show. So that when you leave, you can say, here's what I think, not here's what Morgan thinks, and, I'm going to do what he says. I want you to walk away and kind of make up your own mind. And I think for me, that's a really important thing to have in a film, because I think it'll generate much more conversation. It'll generate much more dialogue. It'll generate a lot more interest, and I think it'll turn that interest into action in some level.
Are there times where you do look at people in the industry and sort of say, like, man, if I was just willing to do one of those, like, I don't know, a remake of a cartoon, or I could do one, if I did the Squeakquel Part 3.
Yeah.
I could get.
Well, I remember right after Supersize Me, I got sent tons of scripts, to do like a narrative movie, and I've always wanted to do a narrative film, and at some point I will. But one of the scripts that I was sent a remake to Revenge of the Nerds. I was sent the new Deuce Bigelow script, and I was like, I really can't do this. This is not what I want to be spending my time doing. Life is too short.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, do you at ever any point, I guess, perceive that can be an engine to free you up to do other projects? Or, I mean, are you just feeling that as long as you can get away with doing sort of these things on your terms, why not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, I'm in a unique place where I am getting away with doing them on my terms. And so long as I can keep doing that, I'd rather not have to feel like I'm, selling my soul. That's what made this film work on so many levels. I think that we were able to get these companies to come in, give up control, take their money, and make the film that ultimately I still wanted to make. That was a real coup, when it came to producing the greatest movie ever sold. So, for me, it's like I would really like to make sure I can still kind of stay the path and be true to the things that I want to make before I kind of, start giving up.
When you go to your representatives, and I should say, because it is Name Drop Friday on this program, that I know your attorney somewhat. I mean, just slightly. But when you go to your representatives and you say, like, I want to do this movie. I mean, I guess to a certain extent we saw it in the movie. But, I mean, was there moments where they were off camera going like, dude, seriously, don't do this?
I mean, every time I talk to them, anytime I call any of my attorneys, like whether I call, Lincoln Banlow in L.A. or I call Paul Brennan here in New York, or you see in the film, I say, here's what I want to do. And I explain what it is. There's usually a moment of silence, followed by a big sigh, followed by them saying, now, do you want me? Where do you want me to start in telling you why you shouldn't do this? In which point we start talking about it, and then I'm saying, well, what can I do to make it possible for me to do this? And then we start breaking it down from there. But no, I have many confused and distraught conversations with my attorneys. And
just to get more specifically about that other question about the way, did people in the end? I mean, some of these companies. Or particularly companies, some of the branding companies that you went to visit, as you were getting advice. Do you have any sense as to how some of those people perceive themselves? I mean, it just always fascinates me if some of these people in the branding world, I find I would be embarrassed if I was them. Now, obviously, they're not embarrassed by what they do or ashamed, but I wonder if there's ever moments where they look at themselves on film as from like a third party perspective, looking at themselves as a subject, if they ever have those moments of like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of brands that when they saw this film were like, I wish I hadn't have said that, wish we wouldn't have done that. But ultimately the whole goal of this movie is transparency and and showing a very honest and open picture of how this business works and what goes on behind closed doors, and the fact that they were open enough to be there and to relinquish that control. I mean, I think that honesty, as much as it may make them uncomfortable, is what makes the movie work.
Right. And they just got to deal with it, I guess.
And it makes them, and I think it ultimately makes them come off a lot smarter. It makes them look a lot better, because there were so many people that said no and pushed back on this film, that the few that said yes and said yes and came on board for what at the end of the day is a very small amount of money, and when it comes to like what the money some of these corporations generate, it makes them look really smart. It makes them look really savvy, and ultimately I think that's what they all wanted to begin with.
One of my favorite moments was when I think it was in the antiperspirant when you asked them like, how would you describe it, which seems to me to be like one of the
The
first
easiest questions ever, right?
Yes, and the woman just says, "That's a very good question." I mean, does she still have her job?
Yeah, amazingly enough, all those people are still there. All those people still have their jobs. They're all still working away. Amazing.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you if you're taking some of the credit for Bin Laden.
Well, I mean, I'm still waiting on that check from the government. I mean, I'm hoping some of it, like maybe like some sort of a fractional check shows up.
All right. Well, maybe
I'll take 10%. 10% of the reward.
So people can go to thegreatestmovieeversold.com, find out where it's screening locally, and people should understand that every time you go, you're actually increasing the chances that Palm Wonderful will be sending Morgan a check.
That they'll actually be a little more on the hook for making this movie. So yeah, I encourage everyone to go and take 1,000 of your closest friends.
There you go. All right. Well, Morgan Spurlock, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Take care.